Coming up on the Real Housewives of Salt Lake City after show.
Lisa brought Cameron into it by inviting him to her event.
Stop doing this to me because I'm sick of it.
I would have never talked about Mary's church until Lisa brought Cameron into the picture.
I don't like playing chess with my friend group. I don't believe in that.
She's the type that's gonna pay you back, and she's gonna dig.
I am being told all these cryptic messages, and I'm getting angry and upset.
The man who had told me this stuff at Lisa's party had certain health conditions that could legitimately skew his perception of reality. When you see him film with me, that's the last time I was able to see Cameron.
I believe in God. I believe in it all.
What is true, I will tell you. If I'm God, I'm God. And trust me, I'm gonna do some things. Be moving things around and bop Whitney in the head. Your Real Housewives of Salt Lake City after show starts now.
Hello, Mary.
Hey.
Thank you so much for joining us on the after show.
Thank you for having me.
We are so excited to have you with us today, and we can't wait to hear your side of the story. This season, we've seen some explosive rumors about your family, your faith, and your church.
The congregation believes that Mary is God.
She's a cult leader that has them on food stamps.
They'll beat you down until they get what they want.
Is that why you mortgaged your house?
He mortgaged his house and gave her $300,000.
When this came to your attention, you were visibly upset, especially about the parallels being drawn between you and the charges against Jen.
For them to put me with someone who would criminalize and manipulate somebody is horrible. Now that I know that, you guys go from Jen to me, that's horrible.
Well, because that's what they were doing. They were saying if Jen ended up in her situation, then now we need to watch Mary. Now we need to make sure that we're aware of what Mary's doing. And I think that's horrible. Like, first of all, you're dealing with a person that's coming from a place of faith and coming from a place of, I love my church. That's all I'm saying. I love my church. And I'm not ashamed of it. I love God and I'm not ashamed. I love it. And it's okay. And that I came into this friend group with that and knowing that, and to put me with someone who's literally now being investigated by FBI.
We're looking for Jen Shaw.
I mean, past investigated, going into indictment.
Her and Stu were charged for laundering money and stealing people's money, fraud.
I just think that's mean. Why do I have to be next? And that's kind of what they were saying. Now Mary's next. Why? Because I love church and I was inherited a church. I just don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear about what people, I feel like rumors are for mean-spirited people that want something negative to hear, and they enjoy someone's fall, or they enjoy someone having something that's, like in Jen's case, it turns out not to be what you appear to be. You can't just be decent, and it can't just be a church, and it can't just be somewhere, a place of love, and a place that was started by, Dr. Mary Cosby, my grandmother, 60 years ago, and still standing. And not, just why talk about someone's faith? I mean, it's not like I'm going out and, I don't know, cutting people. It's like, I'm going to a place of rescue. I'm going to a place where I find help and other people find help. And what is true, I will tell you. I'm going to always tell you my truth. If it's a cult, I will tell you. If I'm God, I'm God. And trust me, I'm going to do some things. If I'm God, I'm going to do some powerful things, like be moving things around and bop Whitney in the head. And, I'm like, things are going to be most, but God is fair. He's beautiful. He's a spirit. And I'm Mary Cosby. So just don't give that kind of stuff life, because it's not true. And if it was true, why did it come out now? It's like, some things you just have to think common sense about. And I'm thinking, why me? Why do I have to be the one that is God? Who's God? Who says this? Like, it's just outlandish. It's outlandish and kind of funny and untrue. All the above.
At one point, Lisa and Meridith clash over the allegations about Mary.
It's like when you see mom and dad fight.
I am not
going to sit here and listen to these very questionable digs on a friend of mine with zero facts. You haven't read any of these?
Meridith, have you not read one of these? Have you not read anything? Have you not watched YouTube videos?
Meridith reads the room. She's a swan, and she takes it all in, and she does not suffer fools. And I don't think she will suffer being fooled by Lisa for much longer.
Yeah, but on the same side, it's like, in the same sense of her reading the room, like, the writing's on the wall that there's these people making these accusations about Mary and her church and the money and the misuse of power.
Say she's running a cult, she's living off the tithes of her patrons. She is dishonest. Have you not seen anything?
But Meridith is like sticking her heels in the ground for Mary.
I heard a lot worse about Jen for a year and a half, and nobody listened. Nobody believed a word I said. I am not going to sit here with no facts.
I want to know what Meridith is really thinking about Mary.
I'm getting very upset at this point because I knew that the man who had told me this stuff at Lisa's party had certain health conditions that could legitimately skew his perception of reality. I'm not saying it was skewed. I don't know. I'm not inside his brain. But I was well aware that there were conditions, which, you know, it's not my place to disclose those, but there were certain medical conditions that under many circumstances would skew someone's perception of reality. And for that matter, he's a stranger. I just met him. Like, why should I believe everything this stranger is telling me to begin with?
Mary, her husband, like, they've done some things that have been very harmful.
These are really big accusations to make when there's no fact.
I'm like, Meridith, why are you so upset about your interaction with Cameron? He barely said anything to you.
Mary and I were extremely close at one point. Just be careful.
Even though he had trauma with Mary, he was still caring about Mary. He was like, this is my experience, and I know that other people choose to keep experiencing Mary in her church, and they are adults. They have every right to do that. He was very honest with himself, and I believe that he was really honest with Mary, and he had shared those experiences with Mary too. Like, they weren't, he wasn't shy about them. And I think he got more vocal before he left for Chicago, and unfortunately, when you see him film with me, that's the last time I was able to see Cameron. So it's really hard. I mean, I can't say any less, I can't say any more. It was a lot emotionally.
Do you know why Cameron ended his relationship with your church?
I don't know. I think people leave for their own reasons. You know, every church has rules. Every church has ways that you're supposed to live. We don't really necessarily curse or drink or, you know, do things that some people just want to do. And it's okay. You know, it's just, sometimes you just like fall off and you're like, you know what? I'm not really trying to do the right thing right now. I'm not trying to not saying that's his story, but that's the reason why they usually just kind of like, okay, but it's not ill will. It's just more so of a, you know, an amicable departure. And it's like, okay, but I mean, every church has those. I mean, clearly we have one in our cast. Talk about our church. So yeah.
Near the end of the trip, Mary's given the opportunity to speak to these allegations.
The congregation believes that Mary is God.
It was a lot of emotion and a lot of anger and a lot of heat from all different angles. I went in with, I apologize.
I believe in what I do.
I agree with that 100%. I will make my own judgment. I didn't expect to turn out the way it did. It wasn't pleasant at all.
The only reason this came out is because Cameron brought it up. I was never going to say anything.
Cameron told you?
No, Lisa brought Cameron into it by inviting him to her event, and Cameron told Meridith.
Oh, wait, so what's happening right here, right now? What's happening right here?
Oh my gosh, it's so ridiculous. To me, it's like back to being on the hamster wheel in this like vicious cycle. Whitney had her own issues with Mary that had nothing to do with me.
You can go.
You're not hearing me, Mare.
Little girl.
It's the way she feels Mary's treating her, and instead of being integral and taking responsibility for her emotions and the things she said, she immediately displaced it onto me.
I believe that she saw a sever in our relationship, so she came down, swoop in to manipulate it so that she can use you against me for her gain.
I love playing chess. I took chess in college. I don't like playing chess with my friend group. I don't believe in that. I take everyone at face value, and I think when I left that trip, I was like, here we go again. We just can't get away from people not taking accountability for who they are, their actions, and being responsible for themselves.
I would have never talked about Mary's church, Mary's family, Robert Sr., anything until Lisa brought Cameron into the picture.
Lisa was the only one that had anything to say about it.
Yeah.
Cameron has had extreme religious trauma being a member of her church, and he is no longer a member of her church.
That whole conversation the night before started with Whitney.
The congregation believes that Mary is God.
And then there was pressure on me. They're like, well, we don't want to be shocked. If you know something, say it.
Give me a concrete example of something. He mortgaged his house and gave her 300 grand.
I said what I know. I shared what I felt comfortable sharing. It's not my experience. I didn't feel comfortable talking about it. But to put that blame on me was disgusting and wrong.
What's interesting to me on all of that is that the conversation about Mary, with what Cameron had said to me at Lisa's party.
Mary, her husband, like they've done some things that have been very harmful.
I was very uncomfortable listening to it to begin with. And then I was very uncomfortable with Lisa's response to it that night. It felt very much like, what are you trying to get me to say that you know?
He was sending cryptic messages. You think the worst. That's human nature when you're hearing
What's
something.
the worst that you're thinking? Because, it was like, well, what do you think that means? What do you think that means? Well, it felt like Lisa thought it meant something or knew it meant something, I don't know which, but wanted me to say it. And I'm like, I don't know anything.
The constant projecting onto me is not healthy for them or me. And, you see I get super upset, Chris, because it's like, here we go again, and it's a lie.
Stop doing this to me, because I'm f***ing sick of it. I'm really mad right now. Stop it.
Lisa, hold on. Just bring it down to a 10, maybe a 2.
What role do you think Lisa played in exposing these rumors?
Probably the head corporate, probably the main person that started it all, trying to find something at me because she's upset about our little fight that we have.
Mary, I need to Google that. Is that real? Is that a thing?
At least I'm talking like I'm dumb. If I say something, it's fact. I came for her, so she's gonna come for me. And this is her way of doing it. She's the type that's gonna pay you back. And she's gonna dig, and she's gonna dig and dig, and she's gonna find whatever she needs to find. She's gonna go search her resources. She's gonna do whatever she needs to do to find some type of dirt on you, she thinks. And this time, she tried, but it backfired.
You have to confront Lisa in front of the group because then she can't go around and spin the truth. So I just wanted to hit it on the head before it got bigger. If you allow her to continue to get away with it, it's just gonna get worse and worse every time. So in a sense, it's kind of like, in a weird way, me having Lisa's back to be like, Lisa, you don't wanna keep doing this. Stop. This is not a good look. So I really was doing it for the sake of the group, too. And selfish, I had just caught her in the whole catering thing.
So I walked into a trap tonight. Here I was thinking that Lisa wanted to be my friend, and she's just trying to prove a point that she was not wrong.
And so I just felt like I was living through that again. I saw the signs. I saw the writing on the wall, and I knew what she was trying to do. And so I just decided to nip it in the butt.
After the conversation around the fire pit about Mary, tensions are high.
I had someone who was cruel, abusive, and mean to me, my family, and my business, and nobody wanted to hear anything about facts.
I'm gonna go to bed. Are you guys gonna be mad? I'm going to bed.
And Lisa leaves the group to go talk to Mary in private.
That's when all the dirty work started happening.
I know there's a situation where Lisa did talk to her privately.
I want to have an honest friendship with you, and I want to be honest with you right now. Do people at your church think you're God?
No.
But we weren't there to understand what was said. So for me, it was confront Mary, talk to Mary, get it to light so you guys don't question another person.
I went to Mary's room and I asked her, I'm like, hey, you know, we're having a conversation at the dinner table. I'm going to paraphrase. Maybe you should clear some things up. Do you think you're God? And I spoke for me as me. I didn't bring anybody else into it.
Absolutely not. Whitney told me that. She just said it upstairs.
Right. They want to say that I become God?
Then I told Mary, I still might have more questions for you. Is that okay? And she was definitely open to it.
Cameron's no one. He's not even in my church anymore. Yeah, and to take his word over mine.
Do you understand, like...
First of all, I should have locked my door. The second thing I was thinking, okay, my wig's off, I have cornrows, and what is Lisa talking about? It shouldn't bother you that other people are saying things.
It doesn't bother me
if you have a loyalty to me. I just thought she had bad timing, and I just didn't want to deal with her. But I remember taking the time and going ahead and talking to her and answering her questions. Whitney came to my church. Meridith came to my church. Lisa actually came to my church, and Cameron, the guy that Lisa's, was there. So why wait till now to say all these things about me? And you was at my church a year ago. And the thing is, we had not, because of COVID, we had not been to church since. So I'm trying to figure out, when did things change? And when did I become all these things?
I think that what really, when shit hit the fan, is when Mary left and Lisa realized that Meridith was going to take Mary's side on this.
I can't go down this path without something concrete. For someone who has been nothing but kind to me.
Lisa realized she doesn't have Meridith's support, so that's why Lisa got up and tried to have a conversation off camera.
The fact that the big machinations or the big, huge, like, let's remedy all of this goes on in the middle of the night should be indication to anyone that, like, you know, people want to put sunlight on their good actions and they want to do their dirty deeds in the dark.
It was her opportunity to manipulate and control and stir the pot so that the next morning we'd all wake up in a blender and her hands would be wiped clean because there's no proof of it. Even though Lisa started it.
Cameron has had extreme religious trauma being a member of her church, and he is no longer a member of her church.
Lisa likes to stir up things, say things, and then run to you and then tell you as if someone else is saying it. So it's just like, what? So I'm really trying to process, because I've just never been around women like this. I don't prefer it either, but you know, it's kind of my situation. So I just deal, but I'm trying to figure out what's going on. And how does this work? And how do I process it without backhanding someone, or maybe front hand, backhand something? Someone deserved something. So yeah. And just trying to get through whatever I guess they're doing to make themselves relevant and to attack me with it. That's how I looked at it.
What's going through your mind as Lisa's asking questions about your church and your beliefs?
I want to ask you this directly. Do people at your church think you're God?
No. The whole time I'm thinking, she's not even a friend. Because why is a friend would bust in my room and ask me these bizarre questions about what someone else said?
I trust my friend Cameron, and I believe everything he said to me.
Did he tell you specific things that she did to him in the church?
He mortgaged his house and gave her $300,000.
When she's known Cameron for, 1 or 2 years? I've known him for 14 years.
So how do both of you know Cameron?
So Cameron used to be he was my niece. They were going to get married. So they were engaged for like 2 years, and he ended up coming to be a member of our church. And that was a while back. And that's how I met him, through my niece. And that's why we became close, because he was going to be family. Lisa knows Cameron through Angie. Angie told me that Lisa, which I shouldn't say this because she kind of told me in confidence, but Lisa made her call Cameron to ask about me when she found out I was going to be on the show. And that's how she kind of met him, which was like when we first started filming. But she doesn't know him, like he's like a best friend or something. And that would be weird.
For me, because I know him through you and I was friends with him.
Yeah, but you're not that good friends with him. Not better friends than I was.
No.
What did Cameron and Lisa being friends? That's odd.
She told me Cameron doesn't care about me, and
wow.
I didn't believe her. Like, Cameron's my friend. I know Cameron's my friend. And Cameron knows I was his friend. Cameron knows I loved him, and I deeply cared for him and I love his family. I love his fiance. My children love Cameron. My husband loves Cameron. He was our friend. One thing Cameron said to me that I loved and will never forget, my kids know he said this and believed him. You know, God is not the boogeyman. God is in everything great. And God does not punish people. He's a great being. And I think with Cameron, he's like, treat Mary the way you would want to be treated and be kind to Mary. He never once made me feel like I wasn't being his friend because I was being kind and extending grace to Mary Cosby.
I don't have anything bad to say about Cameron. I don't have any ill will things. I would never do that. I just don't. It's unfortunate that things happen and things were said and the way it ended up.
Like if you knew how many people's life he touched, and he did it with such grace and honor and honesty. He was remarkable, which means to remark on someone. And I'm sad he's not here. Like, I'm very sad that he's no longer with us.
Lisa, at one point you discussed navigating what you've heard about Mary from your friend Cameron.
He mortgaged his house and gave her 300 grand.
And you explained to Mary that you compartmentalize the two relationships.
You know, I compartmentalize you and Cameron. Like, I'm like, Mary's over here, Cameron's over here.
Well, Cameron's no one. He's not even in my church anymore.
How do you navigate these two friendships?
Well, you know what? That's a great question, and it is compartmentalizing. Cameron has never once said to me, and I even have it in text, I don't want you to ever feel like you have to choose sides. I introduced you to Mary. I understand she's part of your friend group now. Cameron is like, I'm not saying don't be friends with Mary. I'm saying I have had a negative experience. His whole goal in even talking to me is he's like, others have had spiritual trauma, and I hope they hear me and I help with their healing. Cameron is not malicious. He was nothing but kind and genuine and a great human being. Cameron knows I was his friend. He knows I believed him, but he also knew that I was in an interesting situation where he never put parameters on me and our friendship because he knew that Mary is part of this friend group, and he didn't want me to be someone I'm not and treat Mary poorly because of his experiences.
Robert and Mary, they'll beat you down until they get what they want.
Is that why you mortgaged your house?
Yes, that is exactly why I mortgaged my house.
She keeps saying Cameron's her friend, Cameron's her friend, Cameron's her friend. Well, clearly then I'm not. What he said, she took precedence over what I said.
You know, people at your church think you're God.
No. Matter of fact, she didn't ever ask me until after she believed it, after she told him. And it was one-sided. I never even got to even input the truth of my side. And I thought that was a little mean. It's a little mean to do that, just to carry something and never ask me once, but I'm supposed to be your friend. And so I'm like, okay, well, she's sure not a friend. That's for sure. So that's what I was thinking. And then I just dealt with it.
You know, it's just like me and Jenny. I want Jenny to have her own experiences with Whitney and Heather. We didn't start off on the right foot, but I want Jenny to. I've never said don't like them. I'm like, you have to make your own assessment. Like, you know, Jenny got to watch them. Same with Cameron and Mary. And for me, I'm a nice person, Chris. I'm not going to just I didn't have that experience with Mary. My interactions with Mary, I'm going to respond to Mary based on how she treats me. Mary is not always nice to me. Mary's lies about me.
Whitney was saying that you told her that I'm afraid of Jen.
Mary is mean to me.
I don't even tolerate that. You don't tolerate what? You.
Mary says rude things to me out of nowhere.
Lisa, hold on.
Mary does this to everybody. It's almost like being in a cycle of abuse with Mary because she's like, she'll say the meanest thing and just be like, oh my God, you're so pretty. I love you.
You look pretty.
Thank you very much.
Woo. It's exhausting.
And it's a pattern, and it's an unhealthy one. And so for me, I'm going to react to people the way they're treating me. And Cameron introduced me to her. Those are his experiences. I believe him 1000%. I believe he had spiritual trauma, but Mary's part of this friend group. So I'm going to be friendly with Mary unless Mary's not friendly with me.
Ladies, can you break down the late night gift exchange that happened with Lisa and Mary?
Everyone got a gift, except for me.
So I got a gift, you got a gift, Meridith got a gift, you got a gift, but you didn't get a gift?
No, I haven't given it to her yet. And I'm not going to until I feel like it. That's none of your business. I had actually brought all the girls gifts from the cooking class. Lisa goes in my room. I end up giving Lisa her gift. Lisa and I end up going to Heather's room for me to give Heather her gift.
I was dead asleep. and Lisa and Mary burst into my room. And like Lisa pops on my bed like she's my 14-year-old best friend. And she's like, Lisa has presents for you. And Mary presents me with like a Louis Vuitton from 2015. And I'm half asleep. And also the last two people I wanted to be awakened by were Mary Cosby and Lisa Barlow. And they're like on my bed and in my face. And so to say it's a dream, it was a nightmare. And I just wanted to end it.
You know, I was upstairs with Jenny and Meridith, and we were sitting on the couch just, you know.
It's called a kiki. You were kikiing.
We were kikiing. And Lisa comes running up the stairs, much like Heather just said, like a 14-year-old girl, like so excited to rub it in my face that she got something from Chanel from Mary. I was just like, wow, because 1 hour ago, you were on my side saying Mary was treating me poorly and you were going to have my back. You're bringing Cameron into the picture.
He mortgaged his house and gave her $300,000.
And if you go along that theory, Cameron mortgaged his home to give her $300,000. Lisa's now accepting a Chanel from Mary. That could have been Cameron's money.
It's Cameron's money. Every dollar comes from somewhere.
That's where I looked at Lisa like, are you insane?
I would not want a blood money Chanel for the life of me.
The last thing I need is another handbag. I have a wall full of them in my closet. But I mean, I just thought they were prizes from cooking night. I didn't really think anything of it.
Like, and so that's when I was like, I'm done with this because Lisa's talking out of both sides of her mouth right now. And like the point that you were just trying to make out there at the fire pit with Cameron and the money, you just got bought off by Mary.
And she got the cheapest gift of them all. I got like a $5,000 jeweled bag from Louis Vuitton from 2015. She got like a clutch from Chanel, $1,100 most.
So Heather, did you keep your bag? Do you still have it?
Well, I never got my bag because Mary crisscross applesauced it back and took it the next morning because I had it in the Louis Vuitton sack by my luggage. She just took it.
That morning, Heather woke up so angry at me.
I am done having this conversation. You know what? I am done with women being unkind to me and doing little shady digs.
Okay, then you have a good day. I took it back.
I was on her team. I don't get this shit. I don't get the Louis Vuitton anymore.
You don't want it, babe.
I can buy myself all the Louis Vuitton in the world. I don't want the Louis Vuitton bags, and I don't want to be bound to anyone that is taking advantage of people in any sense.
Leaving Vail, most of the ladies flew private back to Salt Lake, but Heather and Whitney chose to fly commercial. What are you thinking leaving them behind?
Good.
We're blessed.
We're blessed. Blessed the plane ride.
Yes, Lord.
There's a Delta flight.
At what time?
At 6.
Pull that up.
I didn't care. It didn't bother me either way. Why are they that angry? They talked about me.
None of us are saying what we think or feel right now because we're scared of Mary.
I didn't talk about them.
I was on bolognese and like 3 bottles of wine. I don't know what.
I don't care. You're always on some kind of wine. Somebody's always driving you home. So what's going on? Like, some things doesn't even make sense.
Oh, I was emotionally exhausted. I was devastated that Jen and her family and Stuart and his family were facing what they were facing.
Her and Stu were charged for laundering money and stealing people's money abroad.
Then to sit there and have been totally manipulated by Lisa the night before at S'mores, trying to rally the troops to like get to the bottom of the truth with Mary.
He mortgaged his house and gave her $300,000.
And then to have Lisa spin it and Mary and Lisa be this unified force.
What I thought was most unkind, you're showing up in my room at 2 a.m. with a completely different attitude, attention, like, here I am with my new
Mary,
best friend.
I was just like, I am no longer willing to wade through the BS with you guys. Like, I have to draw a line in the sand, have a boundary, and there's no way on hell I'm getting in a private plane with any of you. If I go down over the mountains of Vail, it's not going to be with you bitches. Like, that was not the way I wanted to end my life. And I hit a wall where I did not want to continue pretending to care or to salvage these friendships right now. I needed some personal space, and it needed to be physical space too. And God bless Whitney for recognizing that and supporting me. If I had had to go home alone, I don't want to get emotional, but if I had had to go home alone, it would have been horrible. But because I had my cousin, it felt like a victory in a lot of ways.
There's no way. I don't care how fancy the private jet is, how good the champagne is. You could have had Rihanna on the plane, and I probably would have been like, "Hey Rihanna, we're flying Delta. Come with us." Like, I'm just saying, there's not a bribe in the world that will allow me to walk away from my self-respect and my dignity. And even if I was like not that noble and just wanted to be on a private jet, there's no way in hell I'd leave Heather in Vail. We'd walk home, we'd rent a car, we would ride horseback. I don't know. Like, there's no way I'm leaving my girl behind.
I'm gonna cry. Like, that's the type of woman she is, for 100%.
To me, it's like, why are you wasting your money? Suck it up and get in a private jet. I wouldn't do that. If you are running away from the problem, to me, you're admitting guilt. Face the problem head on. If you feel like you're right and you're going to stand up for what's right, then stick around and prove a point. And I don't want to spend extra money. That's just not me.
Yeah, middle seat. No elbow room peanuts.
Okay, I do have to ask, did anyone get stuck with a middle seat?
No, we flew first class, but we paid a pretty penny for it. We had to pay $1,000 for a private driver to drive us from Vail to the Denver airport. And then we had to book, we booked a flight the hour before. It was a hit to the wallet, but it was a total support to the heart. And like, when the chips are down, you find out who your true friends are.
Nothing is thicker than blood, right? Like, wow, at the end of the day, it really is just you and I. We have each other's back. That's all we need in this. And it was almost like we were in hell and this car was taking us to heaven. Don't you think? Like, it was like, even though it was like emotional and draining and exhausting,
yeah,
it was like a relief.
We could breathe. It was a moment where it's just like, God damn, like the whole world can turn on you. If you have one person that will show up, it makes all the difference. And that moment was a huge moment for me. And I'm totally grateful for Whit. She'd never flown private. I'd flown private before. She had never flown private, and it's experience. And she knew she was giving it up to pay $1,000 to drive to Denver and then possibly ride coach. That's the friend I want to be, and that's the friend that Whit was to me in that moment.
She missed out. They was like curbside. We were like, in the Hires Club. I just think Heather wanted to stay in Colorado anyway, because it's in Colorado. Okay. Blazing your trails. Okay, sorry.